Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Trade the Chain AMA. And thank you for joining us. I know we've been off for a couple of weeks, a lot of travel, and with that said, we've also decided to move our what was once the Friday weekly noon Eastern Time AMAs to Wednesday, because that will make it so we don't run into a conflict anymore. Because we realize from the feedback that a lot of people actually tune in and pay attention to us every once in a while. Today we have Nick, as everybody knows from the community. He is our Chief Community Officer and our research analyst here at Trade the Chain. What's going on? Some call me Fish. And we also have Ryan, my partner, and our voice of our legal disclaimer.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be back. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain is strictly for informational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice, and it should not be construed as such. So thanks again for joining us, everyone, today. We're happy to be back on this AMA. We have Josh from the TIE with us as well. And before we get into everything, we just want to remind you, for those of you watching live, that there are two ways to ask questions, right? You have one way through the chat at the bottom of your window, but there's also the Q&A that you can hit as well. Either one, whichever works best for you, works best for us, and we're happy to answer your questions as they come in. That said, we have a few things that we're going to cover today. We have research from the TIE, from Josh. We have some more information on the Cent Galaxy, which has been teased online, that Alex is going to share with us. We have some new coins that were added. Nick has some research as well, and he also has a handful of community highlights that he's going to share. So a lot to cover, and I guess we'll start off with Cent Galaxy. Alex, tell us all about it.
Absolutely. So if any of you follow the Cent Token Twitter account, you've seen teasers over the past week. I would say the Cent Galaxy platform has taken up on the back end the majority of our time in building this out. And I'm going to go over, first, let me explain some bullet points of what it is. And then what I'm going to go over afterwards is really the layman's terms of what it is and why it's going to be useful for folks. So one, it's going to be a mobile app. It's going to be a non-custodial wallet. We're starting off with 4 chains. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, BSC, and Polygon. Those four chains allow you to store them all in one place. We have 4 more chains planned for V2 for stage 2 shortly afterwards. You're going to be able to swap via 1inch's order book as well as Changely. And you'll also be able to have the ability, we have fiat on-ramp integration as well. So people can use fiat to pay for swaps. And then also it's going to act as a Trade the Chain mobile app. So basically what you have now is you have a mobile friendly version on the phone. We're going to change that, and you will be able to actually, when you go in and look at your positions, or you look into you want to swap, you'll be able to see what sentiment's going to be like at that moment in time, kind of help you guide you through any decision making that you need to do. Also, a couple of other things. For things such as liquidity mining pools, all those pools will now be, instead of going to connect a MetaMask wallet and to Uniswap or to another site, you'll be able to do that all in app. So we'll have those in apps. And on those liquidity mining pools, we'll also be offering non-cent rewards as well. So just for an example, let's say you like ChartX, and we might have a pool set up where you're providing liquidity mining for 1 token, but you have the option to get, say, ChartX token as a reward instead of that native pool's token. Another thing is that the soon to be announced MLP, which is the Members Loyalty Program Reward, and these are partnerships we've been working on since going back as far as last January. That program will be in there. So I guess if I had to give a little bit of a correlation to something, anybody here who uses a very intuitive app like Voyager or Celsius, it'll be very intuitive in that sense. But here's the layman's terms of what this platform is going to provide. There's many people who are members of ours who are just coming up. There's the experts, but there's plenty of newbies as well. and they don't even know things such as setting up MetaMask wallet, connecting it to OneEdge, connecting it to BSC, connecting it to Uniswap, going into pools and all this stuff that's going on. That's very complex for them, when they first enter the space. The Galaxy platform is going to allow people to participate and do all that stuff that they hear about's going on, swapping pools and whatnot, but with the ease of a button, with the ease of going on a Voyager, a Celsius, or a Coinbase app. So our whole goal in this is not to recreate the wheel, it's to make it easier for folks to participate in that next level of crypto and have it all in one house. But that's all I'm going to say for now, which has probably been a little too much. But look for this. We did 2 weeks live testing, and everything is going along great. We're going into beta testing. Hopefully, we're looking at the beginning of November for beta testing, and soon right after that for global launch. So it's coming up, and it's coming up soon.
I am so excited for this, Alex. It's been so long in the works. It's been so much effort behind the scenes that I cannot wait for our members and for the broader crypto community as a whole to see it, because you don't necessarily have to be a Trade the Chain member to use the app just to gain access to the Trade the Chain functions themselves. So I'm really, really excited for this to launch.
Correct. Now you bring up a good point real quick. There's a bifurcation between use of the Cent Galaxy platform and loyalty member rewards. So you're gonna be particularly part of a program and a tier as a Trade the Chain member as well. But if you're not a member of Trade the Chain, you still have the ability to be a customer of the Cent Galaxy app. And I do want to give a shout out to Josh, who's here on it. He's one of about 15 devs that we have working on various parts of this platform. Going through. He obviously, you're on mute, Josh.
Josh is definitely not a developer. Josh,
I did.
Josh is the furthest.
Josh isn't a developer. He's one of the generals on the battlefield leading the developers.
He's more of a project manager, but he's definitely contributing to this effort, and we really appreciate.
More of an intern, but I appreciate it.
I really don't know what Josh's title is, but we just know he's cool.
We're happy to have him as part of the team for sure, and we wouldn't be able to do it without him. To that point, Josh, what do you have? It was great seeing you last week, by the way, in Chicago. It's been a long time, stupid pandemic. But what do you have for us in terms of research?
Yeah, I don't have all that much. I've been trying to take screenshots as you guys literally talk. So why don't you guys go for 5 minutes? Let me take a couple more screenshots and then come back to me.
All right, fair enough. So we have recently added a new coin that was strongly requested by the community, that was in high demand, and that was SHIB. So if you haven't yet seen it on the sentiment dashboards, check it out. We added it just for our community, I guess. Who else will we add it for? But anyway.
Ryan, real quickly on that new listing you just mentioned. Coins like SHIB, I'm always trying to gather sentiment and kind of my amateur way, because you're always trying to see where it's so highly speculative, right? So you're trying to see where the wind blows, because sentiment is strictly driving that coin and nothing else.
Correct. And that's the power of community in crypto, right? That was largely taken up by Wall Street bets and, helping to drive the valuations of stocks like GameStop and AMC. That's what makes crypto so great. And that's why we have the community we have at Trade the Chain. It's just a further extension of the whole crypto ethos.
So on the SHIB front, I just looked this up. So I'll do some research as you guys talk. SHIB is actually the 5th most discussed crypto on Twitter.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible. It's actually now today, not on average, on average, it is the 7th most discussed coin. But today there are more conversations about SHIB than Cardano. And there are more conversations. So it's, in terms of conversations, actually it's just flipped. Literally just saw it live. Flip Pancake Swap is the 4th most discussed crypto on Twitter today. So it's Bitcoin, ETH, Dogecoin, SHIB, Pancake, Cardano, XRP, Uniswap, Litecoin, Algorand, actually, which is pretty impressive. That was one of the things I was pulling up, is just how much people have started to talk about Algorand.
What was the number 3 most talked about coin?
Doge.
Yes.
That's surprising.
A lot of Doge. I bought a lot of Doge strictly because SHIB was pumping, and I was like, I'm not going to chase a pump, but I will proxy play the meme coins, and that's what I did.
I saw that piece of advice when it started pumping last week, and that was a good piece of advice. Correlation to SHIB. Let's go with Doge. I did buy into that pump. I was a day or two late, as people notice on in the community when they were going back and forth, but I still made out on a little run. But let me tell you something, I was biting my nails. I was scared to go to sleep and leave a position open.
I'd be scared too. That's why you put a stop loss.
The only money I made on Doge was my dartboard portfolio when I launched 3 darts into my closet door and somehow ended up buying some Doge. I made 12% on it though, so I'll take it.
Not so bad.
Honestly, making 12% on Doge is the worst Dogecoin trade of all time.
Except the people who bought at the top and rode that dog.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. That's true. It's the worst good Dogecoin trade of all time. So
I'll take it. I'll take it. I can't hit a home run every time. Sometimes you just need one of those line drive singles, you know?
Nick, spew something smart for us so we can get out of this rough patch.
Actually, there's a super fun stat that I posted in the members research channel yesterday that got a lot of love on Twitter, because I always share alpha and TTC and then share it later on after everybody gets a chance to absorb. But basically the long-term holders for Bitcoin has grown at a level that we have not ever seen before in terms of orders of magnitude. And generally the long-term holders start to trickle off about halfway through the bull run for previous bull runs. And that's kind of our midway point to say, okay, we need to start looking for the top now as this decreases. Well, it's gone up at a 45-degree angle for the past few months and has no signs of actually showing a top yet. So we might not even be, based on previous runs, and this is not how you base future runs, but based on precedent, we are not 50% of the way through if we look at strictly those stats. So
that's interesting.
I'm not saying that we're 50% through or the top's coming or whatever, but that's a fantastic stat based on history.
That's interesting you say that, because last week at Trading Show in Chicago, B2C2's co-CEO was talking with Business Insider about how he thinks the top of this bull run is at about 70K based on what he's hearing from institutions. They're trading and market making from B2C2. And he was saying, based on what he's seeing from institutions, allocations and coins coming off exchanges, he believes that 70K would be a reasonable price point for this top, at least for the interim top. And, you know, Valkyrie.
You're saying like a full on bull run, like blow off top, or like next kind of leg top? Are we talking?
Next leg. And then the full on bull run, like the blow off top, Valkyrie Fund CIO, Stephen McClurg, was saying last week at Trading Show as well, that he sees it going even higher, possibly to 80, 85. So, you know, this all makes sense and it all kind of lines up. It feels like the stars are aligning for us to hit a new all-time high. And just back to your point on Algorand, Josh, Valkyrie did recently launch an Algorand trust, and they have significant backing in it. So there is institutional capital now getting into Algorand, and they're holding a conference, a mini conference in Miami at the end of November. So I think, you know, sentiment is starting to get behind Algorand, and there's development on it, and we could see some big things coming up in the next couple of months.
Are you eating Slim Jims, Josh? What are you doing?
You know, I'm not. I wouldn't eat Slim Jims. I'm eating pretzels. The 2 other things on Algorand. Algorand actually just led an investment in the McCord Group this morning. Yeah. So that was news. So McCord Group is like broker dealer that has a crypto arm called Enigma Securities. Algorand led the investment in there. There's also the news on Algorand on their partnership with the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, to launch a multi-$100 million real estate security token fund, or some form of security token fund. So definitely a ton of interest. I would say Algorand has the most news out of any token I've ever seen. Like if you just turn on a news feed on Algorand and look, it's absolutely incredible. And that's starting to reflect in the market quite a bit. I mean, we're waiting to see usage on Algorand, but there are a number of DeFi projects which are being built on Algorand where I don't think there have been many announcements about it yet, like AlgoFi and a few other ones. And I think, you know, that narrative might help push the token. I mean, and it's pretty incredible. I mean, it kind of came out of nowhere. It was kind of whittling. You know, we saw Solana running and all these other tokens running, and Algorand was doing nothing. And then it had its chance, its movement. So, you know, we'll see. And, you know, I know there are a few other blockchains which are about to announce DeFi projects, which I think are a big deal. But I mean, at this point, I don't even know. I mean, you look at markets a lot more than I do, Nick, from a day-to-day basis. I mean, do you think the announcement of NFTs has more of an impact than the announcement of DeFi support at this point?
Not tangibly yet. I think it has the potential, because I think when the DeFi big announcements like happened, they obviously like token appreciation happened. We saw a big kind of like splash, but TVL, like prices didn't begin to sustain themselves until TVL started to actually build up. So I think like TVL has got to be the big thing. Which means that people need to actually start putting money into the DeFi products rather than the DeFi products just sprouting out.
TVL being total value locked, right, Nick?
Total value locked. Yes, TVL is total value locked. My apologies. And then another part on Algorand is I have a friend who's a big believer. They have fantastic staking options, like 7 to 12%, like just off the bat, if you just go and park it in there, and then you get rewards, quarterly rewards for staking, which is like another 5 to 7% on top of whatever you get. So it's actually fantastic staking rewards if you want to be an early algo believer. I personally don't have any stake, so this is not advice or even an endorsement of my own bags, but a friend has spoken very highly of the opportunities to accumulate more algo.
So I just FOMO'd into more algo because that's what I do. And as we were talking, and James, some call me Fish, just had a great question in the chat. With the 10.6 billion market cap, do you think it really has this much room to run, or is a lot of this stuff already priced in? I mean, it's down 20% on the month already. So how much further can we drop before we start to see some?
I think the thing to remember in this space is to price things relative to themselves, right? Like it's really hard to know how much these things can run because they've run a tremendous amount. I think it's much better to think through, okay, is there value relative to other things in this market, right? Yeah, Algo is 10.6 billion market cap. Sheeb is 11 billion market cap. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I have nothing else to say other than what the
So here, like two things to do quick math. One, I think what Josh said is the easiest because that's what everyone's doing right now. People are looking for like total value locked compared to market cap and looking at those ratios. And I think Terra has a really good opportunity in that, as does, I think Phantom got a little bit bloated. But the other thing is like we're emerging asset class investing. So what you want to look at is total addressable market. Now you want to see what can Algo do. If Algo can do what ETH does, and they say that they can do it better, then the current opportunity, the available market is whatever ETH is right now. And if they say they can do it with a little bit of proof, then that's all the market needs to start buying into that belief system. We are looking extremely forward right now, and until actual money gets made and DeFi products start running at a rate that we can actually measure success and long-term stability, that's when things will begin to deflate into reasonable or quote unquote efficient prices. Right now, everything is inefficient because we're assessing the addressable market and the opportunity of these L1s. Once we begin to assess the realization of how the L1s interact with each other and the addressable market is when they will deflate. But right now, ETH is the limit is for any L1 right now. And that's probably the best way to look at it.
So looking at ETH, though, I don't think that it will ever really lose support, right? There will always be some subset of the market that supports ETH because they were there day one, just like there will always be Bitcoin maxis. Bitcoin could have 10% market share at some point because some other coin eats its lunch. And it won't matter because you'll still have people screaming Bitcoin to the moon, let's ride our Lambos around in the craters. So I think you're always going to have people who support a given token, and ETH will always have that support. So let's say it's 80% of ETH's total market cap, right? And I still think that gives it so much room to run that Algo has an incredible future if they can get everything together and start giving some proof of concepts. I mean, a multiple $100 million fund built on Algo, I think, from Mooch, which will get distribution, it'll get assets, it'll get attention. I think that's massive. And that's just the start. If one guy can do it, other guys can do it, other women can do it, other people can do it. And it's just a matter of time until it starts to gain that momentum. And Cardano, they've gotten growth too, but I feel like Algo is the coin to beat now. I said a year ago it was ETH, and ETH went on a run. I'm not the oracle here or anything, but it just feels to me like Algo is in the same position now that ETH was a year ago.
Or Phantom as of like the past, maybe 3-4 months. Like we saw Sol do the giant run, and that was, oh my God, ETH killer. And now the next one seems to be like Phantom. Phantom's bloated. It could be Algo.
Fair.
Okay.
Josh, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look at, I'm fucking struggling here. A few different things. This is why I need my fucking research team too.
So while we're on this topic, another good comparison point that I've been noticing is market cap compared to DeFi. So like obviously market cap
That's
compared
literally
to
what I was
value
trying to
locked.
pull up right now.
For you? Okay.
On
So
the
I'm
same
setting the
exact
stage
page.
for Josh then. So market cap divided by total value locked will give you a decent ratio, which is just a great metric to compare across all assets. And let's say if Algos is, you know, extremely small compared to Souls, then you know that there's a potentially good opportunity based on previous price action that ran due to increased total value lock.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was trying to figure out how to do this, but I'm struggling here. This is the market cap of DeFi over time. And, you know, we can see DeFi is actually up 1,300% since the beginning of the year. But one thing to note, we talked about DeFi being this big thing. It's only 4.6%. I mean, the overall market cap of DeFi is about 102, 103 billion today versus a $2.3 billion market cap for the rest of DeFi. I mean, for perspective on how small DeFi is,
when you say
the
total market cap of the second metric, is that total value locked or just like the market cap?
Market cap of DeFi assets.
Okay.
So if we just compare that, for example, to like literally all of DeFi today, which is so ridiculous, is basically worth the same thing as Cardano at 69 billion plus Dogecoin at 29 billion is basically, and then maybe add SHIB. So basically Cardano plus Dogecoin plus SHIB is worth the same thing with 2 meme coins as all of DeFi, which I think just shows the relative opportunity. If you were to pick, I don't know, if I was a betting man and I could bet between DeFi and a bunch of meme coins and a blockchain with no usage, I take that DeFi bet any day of the week.
Absolutely. I mean, because these meme coins, they have a community behind them and they go on their runs, but they're never sustainable. It's just pop and drop. Whereas DeFi has been slowly grinding higher, and it just feels like that's where you want to be for the long run.
Yeah, and I got a couple other things here to show.
Yeah, and I think while you're pulling that up, oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry, didn't know how long it was going to take.
Yeah, I got a couple things. Well, go first, then I can share.
Okay, I was just going to bring it back to your initial question about the NFT announcement, which I think is great for sentiment. And I think it's great for opportunity, but I don't think anyone's like the reason that DeFi is so popular is because of the institutional ability to write that check, transfer that money, and automatically start collecting yield on that asset. Now, that is an alternative investment, which is what also an NFT is, but A, look at liquidity, and B, look at opportunity. If you're buying that NFT, you're probably looking for that 50%, 100%, maybe more in a short amount of time. It's illiquid. You don't know what's going to happen, but it is fun and it is entertaining and it can be profitable. But if you look at DeFi, you can pull your money out instantaneously. You get great yield on it. Pretty much the operations of it are pretty transparent and clear. And again, liquidity is easy to get. So I think DeFi is a much bigger impact, although NFTs are going to make a splash and continue to be like the sentiment focal point. And I think people get into DeFi because they heard about NFTs and they start looking at L1s. And I think that's probably going to be the retail cycle as institutions continue to clamor into DeFi. But sorry, Josh.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so here. So just a couple different charts. The first is long-term sentiment on Bitcoin. It had this crazy run up from the beginning of the year until like July. And sentiment was extremely high, the beginning of last year until July of 2020. And sentiment was extremely high, which led a lot of that, that bull run. If we look at long-term sentiment on Bitcoin today, it is dropped, but it's still high. And the important thing to note on any of the sentiment metrics, and I've mentioned this before, but I know we have a lot of new users, is the fact that it's relative to itself. So long-term sentiment actually looks at sentiment over the last 50 days versus the previous 200 long-term sentiment. And what that means is that for sentiment to stay above 50, it needs to continually become more and more and more positive. So even though sentiment today is, let's say, a 70, that still means that sentiment over the last 50 days is higher than an average of the last 200 days. And it continues to roll, right? And so with sentiment continuing to be this high, that means that people are actually continuing to become more bullish on Bitcoin. It's not like people were more bullish before because it's versus itself. They continue to become more bullish. But I just wanted to note, like
a year-long bull flag.
What'd you say? Sorry?
Said it looks like a year-long bull flag. The Bitcoin long-term sentiment chart.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like
definitely
it's coiling.
It continues to be bullish. I mean, we saw it drop from like 76 down to like 64 or something like that. But it continues to be pretty high, right? Which I think is a good sign. I mean, we continue to see conversations about, pop up again about this Bitcoin to 100K, right? It doesn't feel like people are worried about BTC. I'd also note, Ethereum tweet volume has fallen slightly. And actually, I pulled up 3 different charts and they actually all look almost exactly the same. That's Avalanche, Algorand, and Ethereum 30-day average Twitter volume. They all kind of look exactly the same, but they're all kind of continuing to hover around or near all-time highs. And they kind of all like fell and then at least, are starting to bounce. I mean, we're seeing now, as it relates to Ethereum, 48,000 tweets a day versus on January of this year, it was 12,000. So, there are 4 times more people talking about Ethereum now than there were talking about it in January, and continue to talk about it. But that's even more pronounced for some of these other assets like, Algorand or Avalanche. Like in the case of Algorand, at the beginning of the year, we were seeing like 450 tweets. We then went up to like 2,000. And, same thing goes with Avalanche, jumping from about, 200 to well over 1,000, 1,100 tweets a day. So we're continuing to see more and more people talk about these assets. But what I would say is, if you look at a chart of Bitcoin, I don't have it up, but it's actually a lot more flat. And I think what that tells us is that it's likely institutions that are driving a lot of the Bitcoin interest, whereas retail is probably more, on the alt interest.
That's a great point. Research out from B2C2 showed that institutions are largely driving this. Retail traders, retail customers are the ones selling Bitcoin right now. And right now, the institutions are buying those sells up, providing that price floor and helping to stabilize and on some days drive Bitcoin higher. So you're absolutely right about that, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the case. But the thing that I would say, and this is not public, there have been some recent public announcements about big hedge funds not wanting to participate in crypto because they think it's a security, blah, 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 whatever. Multiple of those hedge funds are trading crypto. They literally have said publicly that they're not trading crypto. And I can 100% confirm that they are trading crypto. I mean, the institutional interest is unbelievable. And it's coming from literally the biggest asset managers in the entire world. I mean, people that are so big that you're like, how could they even trade this asset class? They are trading this asset class.
But I mean, looking past hedge funds, Josh, right? Look at just Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan. He says one thing, and they're one of the leaders in the digital asset and blockchain space from a business standpoint, right? When you're looking at traditional banks and their peers. So it's par for the course, talking out one side of your mouth and trading out the other. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah. And I mean, look, today, Andreessen went in front of, US regulators and gave a pitch on a regulatory framework around crypto, right? So, I mean, the institutional interest is absolutely there, and it's going to transcend beyond just Bitcoin. And I think my perspective on this whole situation, I've given this before, which is that when no one's talking about crypto, you buy Bitcoin. When everyone talks about Bitcoin, you buy shitcoins, and everyone starts talking about shitcoins run. I think we're kind of at this point again where that the conversation you saw dropped a little bit, right? And obviously more people than normal are talking about crypto. And what have we seen? We've seen over the last few weeks, Bitcoin kind of start its run. I think if we see Bitcoin run a little bit more, then we'll kind of see that followed by alts. And I think that it's not just going to be retail. I think institutions will participate in that altcoin run.
Absolutely. I mean, when you just look at the number of trusts and funds being set up around altcoins like Algo, like Dash, like other coins, I think it's just a matter of time until when those funds start to really see funding and inflows, that's when these coins start to pop, right? Because Bitcoin only ever runs for so long before the capital rotates into the rest of the sector. So it makes sense.
Not to mention regulatory clarity. I mean, like we saw the boost from the Fed. I mean, strictly just the fact, hey, we're not going to ban this. We saw the boost from that. So wait for the day where basically the asset managers that, Josh talking about that are under the table trading it, wait till their friends and them get the paperwork that says XYZ, here's what you can and can't do. Here's what we will, prosecute on and what we won't. That's when money is going to absolutely, just shovel it in like a coal mine, just shovels. It's going to be crazy. So I think when people talk about these large valuations and stuff like that, yes, it is a little bloated, But when you compare our asset class to others, when you compare the opportunity, when you compare what we're missing to what the centralized and the regulated markets have, we are a fraction of what they are, with the interest of nearly every single person who trades any sort of assets, whether it's commodities, equities, derivatives, whatever, wants in. So it's hard not to be bullish in the current environment when we know that the USA is going to do something that allows us to continue to do what we do on a regular day basis.
Absolutely. So for those of you watching, that was a great discussion that Nick, Josh, and I just had. Do you have any questions? Please feel free to ask in the Q&A button in the chat. We've gotten some great questions so far, and we're happy to answer any more you have. They could be about Trade the Chain.
One other thing, just on that point, while people write questions, it kind of an interesting thing. I was talking to two of the biggest OTC desks. One OTC desk primarily deals with high net worth individuals and family offices. They told me that every single month for the last 3 or 4 months, Ethereum has been the most traded asset. But I talked to an OTC desk, which is primarily just dealing with hedge funds, institutions, that said Bitcoin is dominating completely. And so just interesting to see, but interesting to hear that it's family offices and high net worths that are buying Ethereum. It's not just individuals. And I heard the asset, the interest transcends Ethereum, right? There's a lot of interest in Solana and other assets as well that's coming. Maybe it's just that the institutions are not yet comfortable trading more than just Bitcoin, because the interest among high net worth people is definitely transcending beyond just Bitcoin.
And speaking on that point, I think Ryan shared with me the research that I then shared with the TTC community, I think from Crypto Compare, that actually discussed fund flows of Bitcoin and Ethereum for, I want to say, at least the past 6 to 12 months. And it's like in members research, maybe early October, late September, but it shows exactly what Josh is saying. Bitcoin was all anyone institutional level wanted to buy up until about January, February. And then Ethereum started to get massive allocations. And now we're actually starting to see it kind of flip a little bit back to Bitcoin. And I think that's because of the ETF rumors. But we are seeing this kind of ebb and flow, very much similar to the kind of the retail focal point of how we look at dominance to look at the ebbs and flows. So it's very interesting to see it on an institutional level now, where we've been tracking it, on retail for years.
So that's a good point, and thanks for bringing that research up, Nick. James asked another question about platforms trying to bring DeFi semi-directly to Bitcoin. Do they have much of a future? Is there demand that you're seeing there? Is anyone even talking about them? Because I haven't heard much.
What does he exactly mean, James?
Oh, he's saying like Sovereign and Stacks and a few of these other platforms. There's some like
DeFi on BTC rails.
Yeah.
I know the Sovereign team really well, and they're awesome. Like, these guys are super early into Bitcoin, but also like some of the guys were like super early into ETH, like at launch ETH. I think there's some cool things that they're working on. I think the ideas are novel and make sense if they can get them to work, but we haven't seen any real layer 2s on Bitcoin have any traction yet. So
exactly.
For me, it's cute. Like, if you, for the pure speculation, which is what we do for a lot of our day to day, like, maybe you want a little bit if there is a value product tied to it, for a rainy day hold. Maybe it does something, but I'm not paying much attention to it.
I mean, I would check out Sovereign, SOVRYN. Not investment advice. I do not hold any of it, but we know the team and they're great, like really great. They really know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And the interesting thing is they are not Bitcoin maxis. So they actually think that DeFi can exist on other chains. It's like a lot of these guys that build on Bitcoin are like, Bitcoin is the end all be all of the entire world. These guys are not. They're super open-minded. They think that there's going to be multiple blockchains that exist. And so I think there's some interesting ideas and concepts behind why you would want to bring DeFi onto Bitcoin to earn additional yield and, be able to build financial products on top of the Bitcoin blockchain.
Another question, where are you guys able to find interest or yield rather on Bitcoin, right? Because as James points out, Voyager really is the only place that many people know of. Regardless, he's not looking for speculation on the price appreciation of native tokens themselves. Just, are there other ways to earn yield on Bitcoin besides a broker like Voyager?
Yeah,
plenty of places. You have
to wrap it and go on chain.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different ways. There are other brokerages, right? There's Coinbase and the like that will allow you to earn yield on Bitcoin. I would just do a comparison, and whoever's paying more and you trust is better. There's platforms like BlockFi and Celsius. that offer yield. I'm not suggesting that any one of them are better than others. There's some risk associated with any of them, like BlockFi is being investigated in New Jersey. Like there's risk associated with any of these things, and you have to take that into account. There's when you're seeing high yield, the higher the yield, the higher the likelihood that there's risk associated with it. So it's something to be aware of. But as I'll let you talk about wrap Bitcoin, Nick, and how to do that.
Not an expert in it, but there are wrappers, and I guess maybe I can pop over into the TTC community and kind of paste some things about it. But for Ryan's, I kind of took Ryan's question as like, if not a broker, what do I do? But yeah, Josh is 100% right. Like there are multiple brokerage options, and that in competition is good for every industry. Monopolies are bad. But if you wanted to go the pure DeFi routes and you were uncomfortable using something like Stacks or Sovereign, I have no clue what's even going on those networks. But you would have to go to a wrapper and you would have to wrap it onto, let's say, the Ethereum network, and it would be WBTC. And then it would basically be a tradable asset on an ERC20 asset that you would be able to move around on the Ethereum blockchain. That is a pseudo kind of Bitcoin asset. And then you would do your yield. You probably pair it with Ethereum or USDC or something like that. You would get your yield, you would collect it, you would unwrap it, and then park it back wherever you want your Bitcoin to go. So it is a bit arduous, but you would be able to get a little bit more riskier with your yield, certainly.
Alex,
Yeah,
you were going to
and
say something?
I would also just add, like, there's Nexo and a few of these other lending platforms that just do lending, but go for it, Ryan.
Yeah, I was saying, Alex, you were going to say something. You said there are plenty of options.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of options around. I mean, you go to, wrapping Bitcoin. I think that may be a little too far for folks, but Nexo is one that I've heard a lot of good things about. Obviously, people know Celsius and whatnot, but there's tons of options.
Loving
But just
that.
remember what the risk is. It's all loan arbitrage yield. So to Josh's point, just make sure you pay attention.
Loving that new mic. You sound silky smooth on there. Nice little baritone you got
I'm
going.
trying to get my sexy voice on.
Are you doing late night talk radio after this?
I will be spinning the love tunes from 11 to 2 a.m. tonight.
I feel like Alex is like, Howard Stern back in the day when he used to talk to girls over the radio and try to smooth talk them, but he's Howard Stern. That's what I feel like. But I would also add, there's some platforms that are doing weird shit with your money when you loan it to them, like investing in hedge funds and like, BlockFi, no commentary on them, but they lost $300 million investing user deposits in Grayscale. So so just be careful. I would trust like very liquid companies like a Coinbase or like a Voyager, but just keep in mind, I'd rather earn 3% yield and know my funds are safe than earn 4% yield and be skeptical.
Indeed.
Good point.
Absolutely. Does anyone have any more questions while we're up here? Well, you have our undivided attention. We're captive.
This is so funny. As I was talking about the largest asset manager in the world doing something in crypto where no one had ever reported this, Larry Fink just came out and said he sees huge opportunities in digital currencies. So literally like 2 minutes ago. When I said the largest asset manager in the world, I meant the largest asset manager in the world. So BlackRock is in crypto.
I think what's even more funny than that is the fact that Ryan Gorman is frozen in the position he is.
I think we should take a screenshot of this.
Somebody take a screenshot of this, please. We
got it.
This is the highlight.
I got it.
This is the highlight. Thank you, Patricio. This is the highlight of the whole AMA this week was that frozen face of Ryan Gorman. Josh, real quickly, because we're chuckling a little bit over you. What was the asset manager that you just picked up the news wire on?
BlackRock.
Yeah. I mean, the behemoth in the room. So
when I said the largest asset manager in the world, I meant it. So
Bitcoin's moving.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And it's on the look, Patricio's already posted it in Discord.
That's the cryptocurrencies are going up face right there. That's the Dr. Evil, laugh.
This is
All
an
right, I'm
indicator,
deleting
folks.
this before he comes back.
This is an indicator we have topped, folks. Get out while you can. Sell your Doge.
Just FYI, Bitcoin is literally moving up, and I just placed a long on that news. So just FYI.
Yeah, and folks, remember, if to check out the Crypto Millionaire Inner Circle. Nick is very transparent about what he does, as well as the Winner's Circle. I go there just to see him and others gloat. And it also helps everybody else in the community in their learning process. If I'm not mistaken as well, Nick will be hitting up Digital Asset News' channel talking about NFTs. As you know, Nick is our resident expert on NFTs. And has come a long way in that department. So pay attention to that. Nick, you have anything else left for the market or what?
Yeah, so unfortunately, my computer just decided to get slow all of a sudden. So apologies if I'm a little casual. Actually, I'm gonna go off video right now just to make sure that I can say this, but I was going to share some charts. My computer wants to bug out like right now. So I'm going to share some charts and members research just following up, but Bitcoin is looking savvy right now. Bitcoin dominance is 100% recovering from what we saw yesterday. And I wanted to say it, but I didn't want to get chastised for the prediction because it was a little outlandish. But as soon as everyone started talking about altcoins again, Bitcoin is back in vogue. Larry Fink just said what he said. Bitcoin dominance is currently rising and is recovering off of supports that it was near yesterday. And I think Bitcoin is going to be back in vogue for a good trade heading into the weekend. I think altcoins are going to get sputtered out again. And I think we're going to be looking for potentially new bottoms there, especially if Bitcoin continues to run. So look out for Bitcoin touching the 200 moving average on the 1-day chart for dominance again. I think that is likely, but I will share that chart shortly in the community.
All right, very cool. Pay attention to his posts.
So there's
Josh?
actually a little bit more news on the BlackRock thing. There actually have been some pieces of news before on BlackRock as it relates to crypto, but I think it's the first time Larry Fink has come out and said it's a big opportunity. So really positive news.
Well, he's
He
definitely
was slightly skeptical before.
He's definitely going against the grain of Jamie Dimon. So it's interesting. Jamie Dimon came out.
Jamie Dimon's in a league of his own, it's him and Peter Schiff. They can go enjoy their.
It's also interesting though. BlackRock very heavily in China. A lot of investments in China, and
BlackRock loves China.
I know, but publicly supporting crypto. I wonder. I wonder.
If we just wait a month, China will unban crypto, so it's okay.
I mean, the most ridiculous thing about BlackRock is 5 times bigger than crypto. Like this one company's AUM is $9.5 trillion, is almost 5 times the size of all of crypto.
It's kind of
that's every
kind of a flex move. So
BlackRock could just be like, I want Bitcoin. Give me all of Bitcoin. Give me Satoshi.
I'll be 100% transparent here just because we haven't been live, but I've signaled this in the group and I try not to give people investment advice. And I try to signal what I do sometimes as example. I bought a lot of Bitcoin, like about 10, 14 days ago. Like I sold a lot of alts and I bought a lot of Bitcoin. And I continued to do so over the past week or so. I'm a big believer, at least in the short term, of Bitcoin outperformance, especially with dominance looking the way it does. So that's my personal opinion. I wanted to leave everyone with that.
And something to note, BlackRock is up 4.8% today. Some of you may say it's because they showed record earnings, but it's definitely because of the comment on Bitcoin. So a note to all asset managers is make a positive statement on Bitcoin.
Is this the MicroStrategy effect?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it because it's pure speculation, but balance sheets could be changing as we get reportings in the next few months. It's completely plausible.
We'll see. All right. Post the rest of that research, Nick, for the members if you could. Josh, thanks for pivoting to Wednesday for us. That was huge.
I didn't know I had an option. It just showed up in my inbox, and I was like, okay. Is this? Are we doing Wednesday on an ongoing basis or just?
Yeah. So Wednesday on ongoing, but just because Ryan and I travel so much that Fridays we kept skipping, and we were like, we can't do that anymore. So. All right, folks, thank you very much. For everybody who just saw part of this or missed it, it is actually my new responsibility to wait for this to download right afterwards and post it. So, Patricio, thank you for posting that picture in the water cooler channel. And we will see you guys all next week for next AMA. So, thank you. Bye, everyone.